And bad governance protesters arrive presidential villa. Again, national grid collapses. Police bust kidnappers' hideouts, rescue 14 in Nasarawa. Harris or Trump? America decides in knife-edge election. It's the news update on Trust TV. Hello and welcome. I am Aisha Salihu. News in detail. A federal high court in Abuja has struck out the suit against persons charged over the nationwide and bad governance protest. The trial judge, Justice Obiora Egwatu, on Tuesday struck out the suit following an application by the council to the Attorney General of the Federation to take over and discontinue the suit. The Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, who was represented by the Director of Public Prosecution of the Federation, Mohammed Abubakar, had at the proceedings announced the exercise of his power of Section 174 of the 1999 Constitution to take over the case from the Inspector General of Police. After granting the request by Justice Egwatu, the AGF proceeded to request the invocation of the same section of the Constitution to discontinue the trial of the 119 accused persons. Following no objections to the request from various lawyers representing the accused persons, Justice Egwatu granted the request and struck out the charges.
Minister of Justice sent in the DPP to an exercise of the powers in Section 164, 1 and 3 of the Constitution to take over the matter as a discontinued who has been detained under prosecution since the 2nd of August 2020. For us, I think it's a very good step in the right direction. The discontinued charges against them, but have been condemned to nobody. So, in the exercise of those powers, to cover this particular function, I think it's the right thing. But to us, I think it's the first right step in the right direction. There are other steps that must be taken by the government for healing of these young persons and children to be properly to be effective.
Meanwhile, 114 and bad governance protesters, including minors and adults acquitted by the Federal High Court in Abuja, have arrived at the presidential villa. The protesters, initially arraigned by the police force, were released following a court ruling by Justice Obiora Egwatu. The case was dismissed at the request of the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbemi, Vice President Kashim Shettima, representing President Bola Tinubu, is set to officially receive the released protesters. They will then be handed over to their respective governors, especially Ubasani of Kaduna State and Abba Yusuf of Kano State. Nigeria's power grid has once again knocked off with data from the independent system operator, an autonomous arm of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, showing that all power plants connected to the grid did not produce any electricity around 2 p.m. The ISO's website showed that generation plants produced an average of 2,711 megawatts of electricity around 1 p.m. but reading 0.00 megawatts for 2 p.m. In a statement by the General Manager of TCN Public Affairs, Ndidimba, said the partial disturbance was experienced about 1:52 p.m. She, however, said data from the National Control Center revealed that a part of the grid was not affected by the bulk power disruption. The Kano State government has launched investigation into allegation of assaulting a female doctor at Murtala Mohammed Specialist Hospital by the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs, Hajia Amina Abdullahi. The incident, which occurred on November 1, 2024, has stirred outrage among healthcare professionals with the state chapter of the Nigerian Medical Association issuing a 48-hour ultimatum to Governor Abba Yusuf to dismiss the commissioner. Commissioner for Health in the state, Abubakar Labaran, announced the government's commitment to resolving the matter, stating that the Ministry of Health has formed a committee to look into the incident and is expected to submit a comprehensive report within 48 hours as directed by Governor Yusuf. A federal high court in Abuja on Monday ordered Godwin Omobayo, the embattled deputy governor of Edo State, to appear in person before it on November 26 over his alleged disobedience to court judgment. Justice James Omotosho, in a ruling, held that the order was to give Omobayo, the alleged contemner, a fair hearing and the opportunity to defend himself in line with Section 36 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Reports say the reinstated Deputy Governor of Edo, Philip Shuaibu, had filed the contempt charge for Omobayo to be committed to prison over his alleged refusal to vacate the deputy governorship position after a valid court judgment. Justice Omotosho had on July 17 voided the impeachment of Shuaibu as the deputy governor of Edo State by the State House of Assembly. And to a sad development, a middle-aged man has reportedly lost his life in a collapsed two-story building under construction at the Egbelu Mbaraja axis of Ogbogoro community in Obio Akpo local government area of Rivers State. This comes barely 1 week after the collapse of a three-story building at the Iriabe axis of the same local government area, although no life was lost in that incident. An eyewitness, Jonathan Obey, said the building at Ogbogoro caved in on Monday at about 2 p.m. while the contractors were working on the second floor, killing one of them while another narrowly escaped death with severe injuries. He said a couple of deliberate infractions by the property developer may have caused the building to collapse. The Commissioner for Physical Planning and Urban Development, Evans BP, described the incident as one too many, while warning property developers to desist from cutting corners and endangering the lives of innocent contractors. He said the Rivers State government sympathizes with the bereaved family and the people of Ogbogoro community over the unfortunate incident. Also, following a combination of heavy rainfall and massive overflow of the Orashi River, about 103 communities in Ahoda West local government area of Rivers State have suffered severe flooding. A visit to Akinima, the council headquarters, revealed that many homes and farms have been almost completely submerged by the flood waters. Some of the affected communities visited include Mbiama, Akinima, Engeni, and Enedwa, among others. The Chief Press Secretary of the Council, Esedi Joe, said the Council is overwhelmed and is seeking assistance from the National Emergency Management Agency and international agencies. And to security matters, police operatives attached to Total Division in collaboration with community youth on Monday busted a kidnapper's hideout located at Achido village, a deeply forested terrain bordering FCT and Kogi State, and rescued 14 kidnapped victims. A statement by Police Public Relations Officer Nasarawa State Command DSP Rahman Nansal said the police also arrested 5 suspects in connection to the crime. According to the State Commissioner of Police Umar Shehu Nadada restated the command's commitment to continuously partner members of the community to rid the state of crime and urged the public at all times to say something when they see something. You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Still ahead. Crate of egg hits 5,500 naira in Lagos. More news will return. Stay with us. It's nice to have you join us again. Let's have another look at some of our top stories. Released and bad governance protesters arrive presidential villa. Again, national grid collapses. Moving on to other stories and now to health matters. Nigeria has attained 16.7% reduction in child mortality, achieving 31 of 41 key health performance indicators by the third quarter of this year. The country's drive to establish itself as a producer of medicines and vaccines is also gaining momentum. The Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Ali Pate, announced the achievements when he appeared on a national television program. The minister described the achievements as a milestone that emanated from the current administration's comprehensive health sector reforms aimed at unifying efforts to tackle critical challenges. He added that, contrary to negative narratives about foreign companies leaving Nigeria, international interest in the country's health sector has been growing. Egg prices in Nigeria have reached an alarming level, with a crate now costing as high as 5,500 naira in Lagos, a stark indicator of the pressures facing both households and businesses across the country. Analysts say the dramatic price surge is the result of several interlinked factors, including the rising cost of poultry feed, insecurity in agricultural areas, climate change, and the devaluation of the naira. Victoria Tokolo reports.
Prices of eggs, like other commodities, have been on the rise since the twin policies of the subsidy removal and naira devaluation. In Lagos, a crate of egg now sells for between 5,000 to 5,500 naira. For poultry farmers who supply eggs directly from their farms to retailers, prices may continue on the upward trajectory if inflation is not tamed.
Well, with the problem of poultry industry right now, the major problem revolves around the cost of inputs for making feed. The cost of feed is well over 80% of the cost of production. And based on the dynamics of demand, supply, and prices of a lot of inputs have gone up, which has made many farms to scale down or outrightly leave the business. So the few surviving ones just have to make the best of the opportunity.
Lots of increase in price of everything. There are some of them, when we tell them this thing is expensive, when they give you an analysis of what the way they buy and feed, you will pity them. Some of them are just selling it for us so that some of them are still in business because they don't want to leave the business. Some of them are not doing the business again.
Businesses that depend on eggs, like bakeries and street vendors, are also struggling as input costs eat into their profits and threatens their operations.
Here is not taking buying egg now. What you will see is maybe 150 or 200 naira. Before, we can buy egg 1, 3, 2, 3, and you will even selling at 100 naira, you will see something. Now you will buy egg 5,007, 5,006. You will still take transportation from it, and you say egg 200. Like this egg before, we are selling 50 naira, 70 naira. Now selling egg 200 naira. Even with that 200 naira, if your care is not taken, you will sell. You even 1 naira you will not see.
I bought it 5,400 per one crate, and I'll sell it to 200. The biggest one I can sell it 250, but most 200 per one. But if you sell it 250 per one, your egg will be there, and at the end of the day, the egg will spoil.
Poultry farmers are urging the Nigerian government to boost agricultural productivity support feed production, improve security in food-producing regions, and take proactive steps to mitigate climate change impacts, and create policies that will aim at stabilizing the naira and reducing high cost of inputs for farmers as to provide relief to the poultry industry.
The Indian government has dispelled rumors that the BRICS bloc is anti-US. India's High Commissioner to Nigeria stated this during an interview with Trustee Vice Habibat Ajayi.
India is one of Nigeria's largest trading partners, while Nigeria is India's biggest trading partner in Africa. As part of BRICS, an economic group of emerging markets, India has experienced strong economic growth and is projected to play a significant role in the global economy by 2050.
First of all, I would like to dispel this concept that it is an anti-West, anti-US kind of a thing. Absolutely not. BRICS is a group of countries which have come together for developmental activities, like the new development bank which has been created under BRICS. Basically, it is to finance and provide technical assistance, best practices, know-how and other things for the global south. It has got zero political requirement to take a stand against anybody. This is not against anybody. It is a group of countries which are working towards development of themselves. And we certainly welcome Nigeria to be as a partner country that has been signed up in Kazan just earlier this last month. And we are very happy to have another of our friends within the same circle for developmental activities. This I once again reiterate that this is the concept that somebody is trying to promote that it is anti-somebody. India is never part of any system that is anti-anybody.
With a population of 1.3 billion, India and over 200 million in Nigeria, both at large, developing and democratic countries. In the fiscal year 2021-2022, bilateral trade between India and Nigeria reached $14.95 billion, up from $8.81 billion in 2020 to 2021.
Population is a double-edged sword. One has to be very careful and one has to always provide opportunities for the youth. In India, the demography is such that more than 65% of our country is less than 35 years of age. And in Nigeria, your mean age is 19, which is a very youthful population and a very working population. So it is in India, I can share the experience in India in the sense that we had developed the educational system, the medium and small industries part of it, the infrastructure part of it, whether it is the renewable energy, because initially people thought that renewable energy will steal the jobs away. Actually, no, renewable energy actually provides more jobs.
The High Commissioner highlighted how India's population management strategies have contributed to its economic success, insights that Nigeria could potentially learn from. He also emphasized Nigerians' potential as a hub for opportunity, advising the country to take lessons from Indians' experience in managing its diaspora and addressing issues such as brain drain.
See, every developing country actually goes through this cycle. We also faced this concept of a brain drain initially in 80s and 70s from India. But now we have seen that we do not call it as brain drain anymore. We call it as brain circulation. In the sense that people who have gone out, they have gathered experience outside, they have earned money outside, and they have once again come back to India to invest, to provide the technical capabilities and the technology that they have developed back to India.
The High Commissioner revealed that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will soon visit West Africa, including Nigeria, to further strengthen bilateral relations between the two nations. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And to developments away from Nigeria, American voters delivered their verdict Tuesday after an extraordinarily turbulent election that will either make Kamala Harris the first woman president in U.S. history or deliver Donald Trump a comeback that sends shockwaves around the world. As polling stations open nationwide on election day, Democratic Vice President Harris, 60, and Republican former President Trump, 78, are dead even in the tightest and most volatile White House race of modern times. The bitter rivals spent the final day of the campaign friendly working to get their supporters out to the polls and trying to win over any last undecided voters and the swing states across expected to decide the outcome. But despite a series of head-spinning twists in an unprecedented campaign from Harris's dramatic entrance when President Joe Biden dropped out in July, to Trump riding out to 2 assassination attempts and a criminal conviction, noting nothing has broken the deadlock in the opinion polls. Polling stations open at 6 a.m. on the U.S. East Coast, and tens of millions of voters are expected to cast their ballots, on top of the more than 82 million people who have already voted earlier in the preceding weeks. With complex voting processes and issues dividing voters, Tracivas Ibrahim Shehu unpacks the mechanics of the election, the key candidates, and what's at stake for the United States.
The United States is heading to the polls in what promises to be a historic showdown. Democratic candidate and current Vice President Kamala Harris is locked in a close race against former President Donald Trump. As Americans decide who will become the 47th president, all eyes are on a unique part of this electoral process, the Electoral College. Now, unlike most countries, the United States doesn't decide its president by popular vote. Instead, it uses the Electoral College, an indirect election system dating back to the country's founding. Here's how it works. Each state has a specific number of electoral votes determined by 2 senators and a number of House of Representatives proportional to the state's population. That brings us to a total of 538 electoral votes. To win, a candidate needs 270 or more. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A candidate can win the Electoral College and still lose the popular vote. That's why the focus in these final days has been on what we call the battleground states. These swing states could go either way and play a critical role in the outcome. For this election, 7 states are in the spotlight. Pennsylvania with 19 votes, North Carolina and Georgia with 16 each, Arizona with 11, Michigan with 15, and Wisconsin with 10. Together, they have the power to swing this election. This year's campaign have tackled a range of powerful issues. Immigration, ongoing Israel's war in Gaza, Lebanon, Iran, and Russia-Ukraine conflicts, public health, and debates around abortion have all dominated the agenda. These issues touch on some of the deepest divisions within the American society, making this election particularly intense. But issues are just part of the picture. Several factors will determine the final outcome. Traditional party loyalties, campaign slip-ups, public perception of the current administration, and of course, social media campaigns that influence public opinion. Misinformation on social media has become a serious concern as both sides strive to shape public opinion online. And finally, the turnout. The number of Americans who actually cast their votes will play a huge role in the final outcome. So is high-stakes election with Harris and Trump neck and neck. The results will hinge on the battle in swing states and these key issues. Which candidate will secure the magic number of 270 Electoral College votes? We'll be watching closely as the American people make their voices heard.
More on the foreign scene. Nearly 600 police officers in England and Wales were sacked in the year ending March 2024. Figures showed Tuesday as police chiefs battled to restore public confidence after a string of scandals. The sacking, a 50% rise on the 394 dismissed the previous year, include 74 officers kicked out of policing for sexual offences and misconduct. Another 18 officers were dismissed for possessing indecent images of children, according to the figures compiled by the College of Policing, an independent public body. The reputation of policing in the UK has been left in tatters since the 2021 kidnap, rape and murder of marketing executive Sarah Everard by a serving officer in London's Metropolitan Police, who was later jailed for the rest of his life. In another shocking case, an officer from the same unit last year received 36 life sentences for a monstrous string of 71 sexual offenses, including rapes against 12 women. The most common reason for dismissal, with 125 cases, was dishonesty, while another 71 were forced out for discriminatory behavior. Assistant Chief Constable Tom Harding of the College of Policing said it was hugely disappointing to see the conduct of a number of officers falling far below standard. And in sports, Anthony Joshua has been named among the top 3 highest earning boxers in 2024, despite suffering a shocking defeat to Daniel Dubois in September. The former 2-time heavyweight champion earned a guaranteed purse for £64 million from the Wembley Stadium bout, with additional pay-per-view revenue, potentially pushing his earnings beyond £25 million if PPV buys reached 850,000. Only Tyson Fury and Canelo Alvarez earned more than the British-Nigerian pugilist this year, with the Gypsy King banking an enormous $100 million from his historic undisputed heavyweight clash against Alexander Usyk in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia in May. And on that note, we've come to the end of the news update on Trust TV. Remember, you can always follow us across all of our social media platforms and also join our YouTube live streams for more news, programs, and documentaries. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for watching.